Hello, friends, and welcome to 10 Points Under, where Raylan makes breaking. One sec, let me take two. Take two.
Take
I
two.
knew that was gonna happen. Okay. Hello, friends, and welcome to 10 Points Under, where Raylan makes breaking maps look so easy. She's got breaking maps all but down. This is BiggaBullfrog slash Taylor slash Tay slash whatever. And joining me today for a special episode of 10 Points Under, which is Map Talks. You clicked the link. I'm pretty sure you know what you're getting into at this point. But in case you didn't, this is a Map Talks video. Joining me is Flash 19, map maker of the year, century, decade, from
Whoa,
century
whoa.
to decade. But anyway, but esteemed map maker Flash 19 is joining me for this special episode where we're going to be looking at a game that we played. This is a game that we played ourselves. We're watching our own recording because we're narcissistic like that. But we're taking a game. We're looking more at the map than the specific gameplay. Um, Not that we're ignoring the gameplay, but we're just taking this opportunity to look at a map and look at stuff that works, look at stuff that doesn't work, look at specific parts of a map like that. But anyway, but before I get too into that, hey Flash, how you doing? Sorry I
No,
ignored you at first.
no, it's all good. It's all good. I'm doing great.
Oh, good.
And I've got to say, just real quick, bonus points to whoever caught the reference in the tagline today. Um,
Are you
yeah,
are you
it's
giving yourself bonus points right there? I don't know if that's allowed.
well, I mean, of course, I recognize the tagline because it was my dumb idea. But bonus points to anybody who can figure out what the reference is.
Please let me know if, or let us know, let Flash know if you did catch that reference.
I
Because
will be so proud of you.
oh yeah, and Flash esteem is he's already esteemed, so it's next level. But yeah, no, for real. So I am interested if anybody caught the reference because I didn't know it. I wouldn't have caught it, but I am interested to see if anybody else caught it. But yeah, so we're doing a map today. I should have looked this up. Let's see. This is called Off the Beaten Path by Sir Heroscape. We're only mostly using this as a chance to make fun of Sir Heroscape as well. But so this one was used for or was submitted to a map contest that was done pretty recently, like within the past month, as of recording. And the challenge for the map contest was to make a map, a competitive map that had split start zones, and there were a lot of cool maps in it. This is just one of many that were submitted, and I like if you have not checked out those maps and you are a I don't, into maps, if you like maps, then I definitely recommend checking out that contest because there were a lot of really cool maps from that. But we're just choosing one because it's hard to do more than one at a time. So we're taking Sir Heroscapes Off the Beaten Path, and we're going to be we're looking at this game that we played on it. We're going to be talking about what we like about it, what we maybe don't like as much about it, and that that kind of stuff. Just basically a map review and talking about why things work and why things don't work for both the good, the bad, and the ugly, all that good stuff. But yeah, so we and lining up into this, you can see we kind of chose cheese armies to test this map out with. We've got I am over here playing the melee side of things this time. Flash took the range, and I'm running 5 squads of knights with Sir Gilbert, and Flash over here is running 3 squads of Death Reavers, Q9, Krav Maga, and Raylan the Curie Warrior. So cheesy matchup for us all today.
Oh, the cheese. It's glorious.
So yeah, so we got this cheese going on for everybody. It was um I don't know that either of us were super excited about the matchup, to be all honest.
Oh, we weren't. Neither one of us.
Yeah. It was a very purposeful choice though. And the reason why, I guess, going into it a little bit, just to kind of set things up, is so both of us have seen maps like this before, and also to give Sir Heroscape a little bit of credit really quick. I did ask Sir Heroscape to make sure that he was okay with us reviewing his map for this. I let him know that it would we had some issues,
And
complaints,
criticisms in mind.
concerns. Yeah, we had some so some feedback in mind going into it, and Sir Heroscape said yeah he kind of just like built this one. This was not as polished as his other submission to the contest, and we knew that going in, but we wanted to be able to highlight some features of this kind of map because we've seen a lot of long narrow maps before, and um I don't think it's too big of a spoiler to just say kind of straight off that we don't really think it works super well.
Yeah.
And we'll be seeing why. But yeah, so just that going in. I don't know. Is there anything else you think we should say off the top or?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to lead in. Hopefully, we'll be able to kind of explain clearly why these kinds of maps keep coming back, and hopefully this will demonstrate why they are not the best choice.
Yeah. So without any further ado, we'll jump into it because we'll have a again mild spoiler alert, but we'll have a little bit of time to talk about things at the beginning. And that actually, I mean, I'll just use that to start off actually this conversation as I take initiative. I'm going to start moving knights. But one of the things about these long maps that again we've seen a lot of these. We've seen it done time and time again and so much, and we're just sick. No, um, I think they're always intriguing at first. Like, you see it and you're like, "Oh, cool. So you can go up high and take the high ground, or you can take this road and you can go straight to your opponent." And you've got those choices. You can choose if you want to go fast in, like Flash, he's got ranged and rats and he probably wants to set up on high ground. And me, I've got melee, so I probably want to rush in. But the problem with that, as we'll just see for the first bit of this game is it takes a long time to move across this map. Even if I tried to funnel everything down onto road, it's 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 a process to get an army, you know, all the way, to get all of this stuff down into this little pathway. And not that that's necessarily the the best choice. I don't think that would be the best choice. But, already you're seeing okay, so the road maybe not as attractive an option as you might hope for it to be.
Yeah, and especially considering, I mean, well, I want to think of the right way to say it. I mean, it's not just enough to set your units at the very end of the road.
Hmm.
If you really wanted to take advantage of the road, and I mean, we're talking best case scenario. I mean, you want your units because let's see, count it out. In order to like get to my units,
14/15 spaces across.
okay, so with knights, I mean, you've got dispatch, so maybe you're averaging what about two symbols a turn? I think is average.
Yeah, so that's, maybe 9 spaces if you've got basically 6 move knights.
Yeah, so it's like it's not even going to cut it to just get on the end of the road. Like the road is long enough.
That gets it right here.
Right. And the problem is, so if you're gonna try to cut it with just that, I mean, especially going into my army, I mean, that's exactly what I want you to do
Hmm.
because I'm screening up those rats, um, and obviously going to bring up the Krav and Q9. And if you are stopping right at that point, you are playing into exactly what I want you to do.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, even if you're a little bit patient and you only bring them up just a couple on the road, but then your next turn, you bring them all the way up. Great, you're attacking up on 7 defense rats
Hmm.
on that swamp 7 hex right there. So really, not much of an option in this kind of a matchup where you're going melee into range. You're just playing so hard into that range screen option if you try and take that road and take that low ground.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really really difficult to try to take this road, um, and especially because if you didn't even want to be here for me to engage you, didn't you wouldn't even have to be here. I like not that I'm saying that it's a wrong choice to put a Death Reaver right here, but because we were talking about it while we were playing. Um, Flash knew that I wasn't going to go for an assault from low ground because that's not a great choice, and so putting a rat there, that was him preparing for the future. But yeah, I mean, it's the road when it's not really connecting and it's not really going to important places. It goes to the start zone, but that's so easy for Flash to avoid it. It becomes like Flash said, a non-option, that where you're like, okay, so basically this is just X's of just about nothing, really.
Yeah, at least not an option. Slight spoiler here. At least not an option for like a sustained attack, right?
Right.
Nowhere, yeah, not even close to just dump all your forces on that road and try and sustain an attack coming through that low ground.
Yeah, and you could I guess as I'm thinking about it, you could maybe like try to funnel forces onto this and like build up here and then charge in. As you take other forces and kind of build up to this area. But even in that case, you've got a lot more climbing as you go through here. I think you're just gonna like run out of options as you it's I don't know, it's two different worlds, and this side still feels like it's gonna lose. And so you're just better off pulling everything up through the top.
Yeah, yeah. That was a pretty picture.
Thank you.
I liked
I'm
it.
working on it. My arrows and my lines.
Oh man. Yeah. So basically, just a whole lot of excitement here.
Yeah,
I
so we
mean,
get first
both
round in.
audience is on the edge of their seats. What's Bigga gonna do next?
Tell you exactly what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna move more knights. But yeah, so and just really quick, I guess off the top, one thing that I think we've kind of hinted at, but just to put it out there, just to make sure that everybody's aware, especially if this is your first time watching one of our map talk videos, we do manufacture a lot going into this matchup. Or going into our games where we're testing out a map, because we do want to specifically highlight parts of the map, and so
Right.
the knights versus rats Rayland range is very intentional. We know that the cheese armies, they're not our favorite armies to play or necessarily test with, but in this case, we're looking at the effect of Raylan and range and rats and what they can do on this map, which we'll probably be talking about a lot. Knights, I would say on a normal map, knights actually have a fairly decent matchup into rats Raylan range. It's not like it's not a landslide win, but it's pretty solid. I'd say overall. But the reason why I chose knights in this case over something that like dwarves, or we mentioned dwarves, we mentioned Romans, stuff like that, but we also wanted to have some action happen in the game, and where knights can actually move enough to be able to traverse the map in a somewhat decent amount of time. We're like, okay, we'll actually be able to see an end game there, rather than if I'm trying to do this same thing with Romans or with dwarves or something like that, where I don't have dispatch to help speed me up, this game's gonna take no, or it's gonna take one or two more rounds of just development in the game.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, like you just said, and forgive me, I'm just gonna highlight, one of the small things
Hmm.
you said, kind of elaborate on it a little bit. Gilbert's huge here. I mean, without Gilbert, um, yeah, my whole strategy I think changes pretty dramatically if you don't have Gilbert.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, with my Krav, I mean, 6 move, 7 range, and with the way the map is constructed, I mean, there's just enough bumps across that middle where
Hmm.
I can just I can just have a heyday with my Krav, taking shots at you, and there are just enough spots like that gap. Um, I do think that that middle tree is placed really well. Considering considering the design of the map, right? Like as far as it could be placed, it's placed well. But even still, I mean, there's just the gaps on the sides,
Right.
up. There is that gap across. Yes, where you were just pointing that top part of the tree, just right in the middle. Um,
Yeah, really,
yep,
that's the easiest way across, going like that or like that. Because down here you've got these two divots, and so
yep,
you're bumping up and down there. Or if you try to
totally.
go over the three hexes again, you're just bumping up and down. And if you try to go even farther up, then you're climbing even more up here. And it's not terrible. I won't say it's terrible climbing, but no, it's just notable to see that there's really only one hex of quote unquote fast travel through this map. Again, unless you're using the road, but as we already mentioned, the road's really not a factor.
Right, right. But yeah, you were bringing up a great point. I mean, nights with Gilbert, that helps just a little bit. Well, no, Gilbert helps a lot of bit.
It's a
I mean,
bunch, yeah.
yeah, if you're talking, I mean, if you're running some other melee army, I mean, especially if it's like not a super, your top tier melee bonding armies, if you're running any other melee, and your opponent has something like Krav plus a screen, I feel like you're getting shredded
Hmm.
coming across that middle.
Yeah, exactly. And like we were talking about, maybe dwarves, if they're not bonding, they've got 6 move, but then with Krav, if they're taking shots at dwarves, again, there's enough bumps that they can take some pretty safe shots. And if I'm trying to chase after them, then that's going to really spread out my army a lot more than on a normal map because the map is so long.
Yep, which just plays into range's advantage even more.
Hmm.
Spreads you out.
And so here we've got an interesting move, a fun move that we're going to be having early on. So this is not something that I think would normally happen on this map. We were talking about this afterwards, and there's a lot of ways or that Flash could have avoided this, I guess. But basically, you do see I do have one knight coming in. This is something that Flash alluded to earlier, where I do have one chance here to like actually use the road for something beneficial. Um, where I shoot a knight in onto this side of the rat. Basically, my intention being, if I can come here, win initiative this next round, then I can come right up here and take an attack on this Krav, and maybe kill it. There's a lot that needs to go right in that situation, but we're looking at this. This is the one time that the road is being used, and if it weren't for this move, then I still wouldn't be engaged, and this is the end of the second round.
Yeah. Yep. I just want to point out um, that this move was my idea.
It was his idea. It's true.
You already brought it up, and it's true, and it's I don't think it's bad to acknowledge it that we did kind of manufacture this a little bit in the sense that we were talking through possible moves, and we were talking about best moves and
Hmm.
and things like that as we were going.
Yeah, we were trying to make it so that we had good plays going on both sides, and so I talked to him about his rats, and I hope that helped. I always feel bad when there were a couple times where I gave advice and then like the dice rolled the wrong way, and then you feel bad, right? but
It was all your fault.
but in this case, Flash gave me this tip, and so I went for this move because basically, this is kind of a what would Matthias do? What would Ken do from Casters of Valhalla with knights if he were playing right now? And absolutely, he'd disengage and go for that attack.
And of course, I would miss the leaving engagement.
Hmm. Because the Death Reaver thought that Flesh was on its side.
Yeah, that horde of knights just slowly,
Slowly pulling up.
slowly.
And we get the crop kill. Yeah! Woo!
Oh, boo!
which was actually pretty big at this point. Like I mentioned earlier, there was a lot that needed to go right for that to happen, but it did. It did go
Yeah.
right, so that
Yeah.
was nice. But again, nothing else is happening in this game. That was the first attack. That was the first time we had any kind of action, and that was turn one of round three. Which, just to kind of like highlight this maps that are this long, if you're taking this long to get to your opponent, just cut off this part, make your start zones right here.
There you go.
Like you almost might as well do it, because then like one of the things that is frustrating to me, and the phrase that I use a lot to describe maps, where I have this sort of issue, is if I'm fighting the map more than I'm fighting my opponent, then I don't want to be playing on that map. I should be interacting with my opponent. That's the purpose of the map, not just spending the whole game trying to get to my opponent so that I can play a game.
Yeah, totally, totally. It reminds me of the the maps that I used to build when I was first starting to
Yeah.
play Heroes, right? Where you just set up a you set up a castle wall right outside of each start zone, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
the middle ground, the middle of the map is just no man's land, a barren wasteland.
Oh yeah.
And you've both got your Krav, you've both got your Q9 and your Airborne Elite, and you're just like, come at me, bro. You first.
Exactly. And to be fair, I loved playing those games when I was first getting into Heroscape. And so I don't think it's a bad map style per se, but if you're looking for something like, for a competitive situation, or especially like if it's a timed tournament, and you're spending, at this point, 2.5 rounds just crossing the map, that's gonna feel bad for both players, because it's time to tourney, and I don't know how much time has passed. Actually, I do. It's been about 20 minutes of gameplay, because I think we started just going off of this stuff at 12 ish, a little after 12, and so it's been about 20 minutes of gameplay, and most of that is just moving.
Yep. Super, super exciting.
Riveting action.
But it's like, once again, I mean, just in case there's somebody out there that's like, well, Bigga, you could be taking attacks right now. What are you doing? It's like, if Bigga doesn't go through this methodical, slow roll of bringing the knights up like this, then he gets strung out. His attacks get limited, and he loses.
Yeah, exactly. Like I could be getting attacks if most of my knights were still up here, and I had like maybe three up here, maybe. But yeah, exactly. Like it's it takes a lot to get, or a lot of movement to get these bonding melee armies to work, and they're super strong because of how they do that, of how they slow roll into things. But again, that's just not necessarily how you want to spend most of the game.
Right. Right. So yeah, that early Krav kill is going to be huge, limiting me to 2 attacks on my first 2 order markers. But I mean, this is obviously where I start switching into Q9. I just go all in on Q9 essentially, because knights are now in range, and so it's just a heyday for me.
Uh-huh. It's
No,
open
just
season on shiny boys.
yep, exactly, exactly. Um, Maybe this would be a good time to bring this up. Notice where Q9 is. I mean, he is kind of leaning more towards one side, right, down towards the bottom, but he can still hit the whole map from side to side.
Mm-hmm. 6, so you can hit on that line. Boom. That's what you can hit right now.
Yeah, which that kind of coverage. Um, and honestly, like, even if I brought short range, right, like stingers, range 5, I can still hit, if I have those stingers in the middle of the map, I can still hit both flanks, both sides of the map. I can hit the center.
Hmm.
So that's part of why this narrow map design also gives range such a huge advantage. There's no flanking that's able to happen. Um, just range can shoot from anywhere.
Yeah, basically, like, Flash just sets up here and he hit anywhere that he wants to on the map. Also, in that same vein, we've talked about Raylan a couple times, but I don't think we've mentioned since recording how much of the map she can hit as well. So just while I'm drawing diagrams, here's Raylan's coverage of the map. She can cover the whole thing at minus one row of hexes.
Yeah,
And like we mentioned, this row of hexes doesn't really matter to Flash.
except for the one time it did.
Except for the specific one time that it did because he brought it upon himself.
I did because I gave you the idea.
Yeah. But yeah, like I mean, minus that, if he can have rats all just about across the whole map, or in whatever choke points, because that is a lot of places to put all of your rats. But
Yeah,
he can cover this whole thing, and he can have guys anywhere. Change this to stingers. Stingers can move anywhere in there. If it's tenth can do whatever they want. But
yeah,
he can put Raylan here and then never worry again because he's just covering everything.
yeah, yep. Little yeah. Notice I put that rat down there at the bottom to try and act
Prevent
as an
another hook.
extra little barrier. But yeah, I figured those two front rats. Honestly, I didn't need to be as aggressive with them as I was in the beginning, so I probably should have just moved them where I ended up moving them in the beginning, and just having that solid wall of rats across almost the entire map, all of them covered by Raylan.
Hmm. And he's got good spots. I can't get height on any of these rats, so it'll be even ground attacks. One nice thing about this map is that there is not, like, other than these two hexes, which aren't doing much. They're fine, but there isn't like reserve height, so Flash isn't also taking height while he's doing this. So that's a good thing there. But
Yeah,
um, but yeah, like he's got his nice wall of rats, and I think I agree. If I weren't doing such a slow and steady advance of knights, I think the advance rats are fine. But since knights just stay together the whole game and they're just one big blob, it's in hindsight, I think, yeah, just sticking back here with the Death Reavers would have been fine. Which is
yeah.
one spot where I'm like, I encouraged you a little bit to go forward because I thought it was a good idea at the time. And
Yeah, no, I did too. I thought it was a good idea, but then I don't know. As I thought about it some more, and it was probably the result of the Krav play, right? Where you come
right, yeah.
around the disengage, and I'm sitting there rethinking. I mean, why open up a potential window to Raylan when I can
Hmm.
just block it off?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Like, and yeah, exactly. Because I did also put two wounds on Raylan during that
yep,
mini attack there, and so having that route to Raylan is a lot more risky. But if that early attack doesn't happen, if it's blocked off a little bit more, then and you've got Krav being maybe a little bit more aggressive, then yeah, I think those two Death Reaver spots are great.
sure, yeah. But then also notice another thing is you're able. I mean, it's only one more, but you're able to get more same level attacks on those rats up there than if I plug those rats in the middle.
That's true too. Yeah.
Honestly, not that it's gonna matter a ton because
It
you can attack
matters.
rats up top or you can attack rats down at the bottom. You're gonna have to pound through them all anyway, and they're all gonna have six defense. So
Yeah. Easy, easy. I can do this. Little daunting, but it's easy. Yeah.
okay.
So
So, oh, go ahead.
sorry. So I was just gonna point out again. going into the length of the map and the pathing and trying to get everything into position. With knights, you're already going to slow roll. You expect that. I lost count of how many rounds were into the game, but at this point, I'm finally starting to engage. We are roughly 35 minutes into the game, that I'm ready to start making my attacks. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, just again, just a note there on knights are slow. Yes, they do the slow roll. That was a conscious choice that I was making, but you also don't want it to take this long.
Yep. Totally. 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 Ooh, yeah, we got a delay. I think figuring out scatter. I do not play with rats very often, or Q9, or Raylan.
How dare you?
No,
This
right?
is why Flash puts out quality maps, because he just ignores all those figures.
No, I think this is what it is. I think about them so much while I'm designing the map that I just don't want to play them
That's fair.
when I actually like play the game.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like,
Just
and
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you kind of hit a point when, if you do play test with them, you kind of hit a point where you're like, okay, I know what they're gonna do to a map. I don't, playing it helps, sure, but you kind of hit the point where you're like, I know how Death Reapers are gonna clog this up, or I know where Q9's gonna want to be, etc.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I will say is just kind of a tip of map making. I think it's vital, and we've talked about this before, but I think it's worth a reminder to go through the map and to just plan out. Okay, on this map, where is Raylan going?
Hmm.
Where's the obvious spot? If I'm running Krav, honestly, like Raylan, Krav, dragons, I actually don't think too much about Q9. Um, I
Q9's
think
really
most,
not as much of a map breaker as you might think he
yeah.
is.
Um,
Like he
I,
like Sorry, go ahead.
um, yeah, I worry most about Raylan, Krav, or those other like fast moving ranged squads. Mar
Hmm.
Warriors, Krav. Raylan, Rats, Krav, Mar Warriors, Dragons, I think are the biggest things you need to worry about um, when it comes to units who have the potential to break a map. But sorry, you were going to say something.
Um,
Or do you even
I
remember what you're going to say?
was I was going to. No, I think I don't remember exactly. I think it was just going on the point that basically Q9 doesn't really break maps unless you've got like a 2 hex isolated thing at the super close to your start zone.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're really not worrying about him too much. And so that is the nice thing about the one ray of sunshine with Q9, is that you really don't need to worry too much about him breaking the map.
Yeah.
If he's breaking it, something else probably already is.
Sure. Yep. That's fair. I think that's a good point. So this is that super exciting part of the game that you've all been waiting for.
The action now commences of rolling dice every turn, and
Oh man.
not that Heroscape isn't already rolling dice every turn, but
Right. Right. But Big has gotten where he wants to get, where he can really commit himself to the attack, and at least my strategy, I'm all too willing to just let him do that and gun from behind the lines with Q9, except when you block my attacks.
correct, correct. I mean, it's fine. Okay.
And yeah, notice just attack tonight down towards the bottom, right? Didn't even move Q9 at all, and attacking a knight on the far edge.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. And I mean, like Rat Rail and range armies are already about securing part of the board and making the fight happen where you want it to happen, and making it
Yeah,
so that Q9 can hit everything that's attacking him. But so yes, that is true. But also in the case of this map, that is the whole map.
right.
I even get Sir Gilbert committed to the fray. It's a crazy time here on 10 points under. Who knows what's going to happen next? So, and I can feel this building up within me already, and I don't want to like riff on the map slash the armies too much, but
Sure.
um, this is a complaint of mine with rats and knights, and probably why Flash doesn't test with them a bunch, and why I don't test with them a bunch, because you just kind of hit this part of the game where you're just rolling dice to see who gets their lucky streak first, or whose dice is better than the other person's dice, and all that
Yep.
stuff. It's you do hit this part of the game already. Again, this is going to happen with any matchup with rats versus knights, where you're just rolling dice back and forth, and not much is really happening. Um, but again, we did choose this to highlight the map and how this is the whole map, and there isn't really an opportunity to flank. I don't really have a choice to come around south, because after I decided to go north because that was the better way to develop, I don't then have an option without really going out of my way to come south and come clear around here in the back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, kind of going off of what you're saying just a second ago. Really, narrow maps reduce strategy.
Hmm.
I think they increase the role that variability plays in whether you're going to win the game or not.
Hmm.
Um, and we could turn this into a conversation about dice and Heroscape, and you
And
know,
life, and
and and Mike or Orkel Farming One
there
or
you go.
OESO
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call him. I know he would. He feels passionately about the subject of dice. You can go listen to Casters about how to get his perspective on it. But really, yeah, this kind of map enhances the role that the dice play
Hmm.
in determining the winner. Um, and I think you're going to see that.
Well, it's spoilers. We won't say for who, but
Spoilers.
yeah,
Just
no.
in a Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just totally agree. Like, there's the dice, I think, are the easiest part to remember of a hero skip game. Afterwards you're more likely to remember the dice. The time when you rolled 4 out of 4 skulls, and Q9 blinked on with 0 out of 9 dice, and it totally changed the game. You're more likely to
Yeah.
remember that, because that's the memorable part, and that's like the storytelling aspect of the game, which is really fun, and that's why people get into the game. But
Yeah.
there's so much that happens outside of that, and just like you said, I totally agree. Maps can determine how much that variability comes into play. If you've got a good map and you've got good options strategically for both players to be able to utilize, and you've got options, and so you've got room to make good plays or bad plays. You've got room to make to mess up. I think also this map doesn't really even give much room to make a mistake, really, you know unless you intentionally make a mistake. It's probably just not going to happen on this map,
Sure.
because it's so restricted. And so it's just you just go in, and then you start rolling dice, and you know it it just comes down to that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really good point. I love how was it each round you were adding a question mark to the X order marker on the Knights of Weston?
Like starting round 3, yes, I
Oh,
started doing
okay.
that. I now wish I had done that the whole game, but
So yeah, we're probably to just round 7 of the slugfest, right? I mean,
about.
we've been going for a good 3 rounds of just throwing dice.
Punching back and forth.
Yeah. with some scattering in between.
And mild spoiler alert: there are still rounds to come of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's even a spoiler. If you've played Heroscape before, you know.
Dude, yeah, just some brutal attacks going through. The rats are starting to drop at a rate that is making me very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. And that is something. No, this is kind of why I kind of favor knights going into a rats matchup, because usually, well, I guess specifically if the rats have Q9 backing them up, or Krav, even Krav. If Krav were getting attacks from height, it might be different, but
Yeah,
I just wasn't going to give you that option in this matchup. I did kill one early, but there was also, I was just never going to go onto the low ground. But
right.
um, where was I going with this? Shoot, I lost my train of thought with that. Side there.
Sorry, you were talking about. I had mentioned that like the rats are really starting to drop
Oh
now.
yeah. So I was just
Yeah,
gonna say that the reason why I think they've got a better or a slightly favored matchup here is because I am getting 5 attacks per turn versus 3 attacks per turn. So he's
right.
got three v4s, and the 3v4 is better than a 3v6, but 5 3v6s, I think, and I don't know the math. You'd have to ask a math person for this, but it just feels like in games that I've played that it does accumulate kills faster than the 3v4s do.
Yeah,
And also, I've already got numbers on my side.
and especially when Q9 runs out of bullets.
Yep.
3 blanks, right?
3 blinks in a row, 0 out of 9 skulls. It's a great time. It's the reverse Deathwalker.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I'm gonna start calling Q9 that. He's the reverse Death Walker. He's the walker of not death.
The Life Walker.
A life walker.
He lets your opponents live. They Q10 has the merciful personality, but really Q9 should have it.
Yeah, yeah. That is very true.
There's
Let's
a
see.
little bit of fun dancing happening where Flash is able to like move rats so that I'm missing some of my attacks.
Yeah.
Is fine.
Just getting you down to 4 attacks instead of
Yeah.
5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, at least you didn't have 6 attacks, right? Nilfheim and Greenscales,
Oh yeah.
because we know
Six
how that
attacks and 3 of them special.
goes. Yeah, I don't ever want to play you where you're playing Nilfheim ever again. Too many traumatic memories. Too much money spent on therapy.
Yeah, same. I don't want to play against you with Nilfheim ever again because having to pay for your therapy sessions too much.
Oh man. Okay, well, down to 1 squad of rats.
Yeah, so we're hitting a
And,
little bit of a time here where
let's see, you've still got 2.5 squads of Knights of West and Full Life Gilbert. And this is the time for Q9 to just start shredding.
yeah, just got to get three kills a turn.
And
Unfortunately,
merciful personality.
merciful Q9.
Who would I petition to make that a thing? Can we change his personality to merciful? Because
um,
it needs to
I'm
happen.
sure if you got like Craig Van Ness to sign off on it, I bet most Heroscapers would accept it.
We're gonna make it happen. Okay, forming the little wall around Raylan. Especially after that first costly blank, I'm really nervous about you sneaking somebody else in there to take her down.
Yeah, exactly. It's. I mean, yeah, Raylan, fragile Raylan, good old fragile Raylan. Sometimes
Map rip.
fragile Raylan. Sometimes she just like tanks attacks. Like
Dude, yeah. Yeah, not this game. So the slugfest continues.
Hmm. Kind of
I'm
got it.
trying to think of something else to say about the map right now while we just
Yeah,
watch
exactly. Like at
watch
this
us
point,
throw
it's
dice at each other.
yeah. And I mean, like, and to be fair, at this point, it's just end game of knights versus rats. The map's not
Yeah.
really even doing a ton right here. Um, I mean, maybe it's worth mentioning that just to kind of like continue the train of thought of earlier. There's not a lot of like end game options. Because of the narrowness of the map, it's not like you've got a way to retreat, and I don't really have a way to again flank a ton. I guess I could, but it'd take a lot of movement at this point. And but again, half of that, 75% of that, is just the fact that it's end game and it's time to just just like the mid game, roll more dice.
So, for those of you who are observant, you'll notice that is 3 turns that Q9 just had without killing a figure.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yep.
merciful.
Merciful Q9.
Maybe it's just karma. Maybe it's because I was making fun of Doc.
Oh, you know what? It could, well, wait, but where were we? I guess we were making fun of Doc during the game too. Okay.
It's true. We were.
Of course, to be fair, Doc would never run this army. He would
Never.
run Hydra instead of Krav.
Yeah, that's true.
Or at the
Well,
very least, Marku.
oh yeah, there we go. He was totally run Marku.
Alright, so on the last attack of that turn, Flash finally breaks his no kill streak. Q9 finally does something there.
Yeah, there we go. 1 kill in 4 turns. Yep, I put it in the chat for you,
Yep.
for viewers' enjoyment. Yeah, dude, those knights, they were just they were tanking on the defense.
Yeah, they were doing pretty well and still getting the kills on the Death Reavers. Not tons, but enough to where now it's open up and I'm able to get at Raylan.
Yeah,
Assuming, of course, Q9 doesn't pick off my. Oh, never mind. That was straight kill.
yeah.
I'll be honest. At this point, it's kind of just like, and we rolled dice, as far as my
I
memory
know.
goes.
I know. It's like we uh we rolled a bunch of dice
Hmm.
and
One of
we
us
rolled some
won
more.
eventually.
And yeah, one of us one of us won. Does Q9 pull off the comeback?
The reverse sweep
Does it end up with 1 Krav versus 1 knight?
in the
Stay tuned.
showdown you never knew. Stay tuned.
I had a couple. I had a couple good moves in this end game right here. That's a good rat placement. That knight is tied to the Krav,
Hmm.
so kind of protecting Raylan just a little bit,
As much as you can for this
as much
situation.
as I could. And then by this point, I can tell things are going south quickly. And so I'm thinking, yeah, what do I do with Q9 to set me up for because there's just one rat between you and Raylan.
Hmm.
So
Just one Raylan between me and Q9. But yeah,
so
so we
yeah,
looked at options a
dance
little bit
around for a
here,
bit.
and
Yep. Like his gun sticking in that tree there, like shooting a squirrel or something. Sorry, random question, but I'm blanking on what else to talk about. How strict are you on figures? Like if they don't fit in a spot, that do you tend to be pretty strict on that as a player?
not super. Like for example, Q9. I mean, obviously you could just, well, no, actually with Q9 you can't flip him around because you can't see out the back of
Right.
his own head. So like with this situation, Q9's probably close enough that he can fit. Like as long as they're not terribly overlapping off of the hex, or
Yeah.
if they can fit squarely down, and they're not like at a 45-degree angle tilting off of the place just to fit in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty lax with it. I think, and I feel like most people probably are, or at least I guess maybe it's because I've done a lot of online and it's just a bit harder to like go over all that online
Right. Yeah, totally.
because you
Yeah,
got
I'm
all the
online.
overlap
I
anyway.
have to
So
wait for the yeah, for the really obvious, like, yeah, there's no way.
yeah, like if Nilfheim's wing is going straight into a fortress wall, then I'm like probably not. But
Anyway, sorry for bringing that up.
no, you're good. You're good. I like the topic.
I guess I was just getting bored of watching us throw dice at each other.
To be fair, me too.
Which, I mean, Sir Heroscape, I'm sorry. I know we joke about, enjoying ragging on you, but, and it's not a rag on this map in particular. It's what happens when I play narrow maps.
hmm
They just end up this way. The gameplay is stale and it gets boring.
hmm
I remember a game I played on Mar Highway against my cousin, and I brought oh, what are they? The soldiers, the Pathfinders, 8th Infantry.
Okay, yeah.
I had them and Raylan, and my cousin had 10th Reg, and we were playing on Mar Highway, and it was the most boring game in the whole world.
I mean, yeah, no.
Raylan behind a ruin, and she was covering all of my pathfinders, and then I had what's his face there to soak the wounds in case a shot did go through, and then just he couldn't come around to flank my because Raylan was hit too well because that map is so insanely narrow.
Oh yeah, that one's like 5 hexes wide, maybe.
Oh man, it's
That's crazy.
well, it's 6
Oh, is it
because
6? Okay.
it's a width of a 24 hex.
Oh, right. That makes sense. But still, that's, and yeah, like you said, no, this isn't just to like rag on specifically on Sir Heroscape or the map or anything like that. And I'm really honestly really glad that Sir Heroscape was okay with us talking about his map, because I
Yeah, totally.
think it'd be hard to um talk about our concerns with narrow maps with somebody who don't both know, and who
Yeah,
who we don't know can take it in stride. And Sir
yeah.
Heroscape's got a lot of other different maps. He does a lot of good job with his maps, and they're
Oh
not
yeah,
all like this.
absolutely.
So so we're not making it into a personal attack on Sir Heroscape, however much we would like to make it into a Heroscape. But no, really, like I mean, it is a concern because like we've said, we've seen this style of map a lot, and we did want to be able to highlight stuff like this, where you get into this end game slash the mid game, I guess, is more concerning to me, where um it's it's just dice, it's just rolling, it's not fun to play, it's not fun to watch, but
It's not fun to listen to Big and I just like blab on about. No, I just
exactly. but but yeah, you're losing out on that gameplay that you're hoping for from a Heroscape game, and I think it's a fair criticism, because I don't, well, of like competitive player, or when you're looking for that, it would be fine. Like for example, Mar Highway is in the BOV, and it was a map where when I first saw it in the BOV, I'm like, dude, that's an awesome concept for a map. I think that looks great. I want to play on that map for the rest of my life. This, to be fair, this was a decade plus ago, so
Oh wow.
will cut myself some slack. But yeah, like when I first saw it, I'm like, that's an awesome map. That's an awesome concept. And I've made maps like this, and I've played on maps like this. Um, but it's one of those things where, like, the I guess the better I get at the game, slash, the higher of the level of the game that is played, that on this map, that was a weird sentence. Anyway, the more you escalate that level, the map just restricts things more than it provides the gameplay that you'd want it to be. Because the concept is cool. The concept of, I'm gonna take this. Oh, I've got a big line now. The concept of, I'm gonna take this road straight into my opponent's start zone and start hitting them before they can climb up here. That's a cool concept. But I've really, with all the maps that I've seen that try to do this type of thing, even maps without road, usually a lot of the time the narrow maps will try to be doing something along those lines.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it work. I can't think of a single map that I've played on where it's actually worked.
Yeah. Yep. Um, yeah, we did while we were talking. We brought up there actually is a more narrowish map in the ARV that I think does it a little bit better than others, and I think it's actually, I would need to go count. I do think it's a little bit wider than this one. But Super Frog's map, Pure Gold, we were talking about a little bit before we started recording. It'd be interesting to, I don't know, maybe kind of talk through the differences, or think through the differences, between that map and this one. Um,
That's true, yeah.
because yeah, it is narrow. I do think Super Frog did a good job in that map of making both options more viable, though. With
Mm-hmm.
how the road is used, like, yes, it's still narrow, so it still, suffers a little bit from range. Being able to hit anything on the map, and Raylan, being able to cover a large part of the map. But I think what's going to win, or what's going to make the huge difference there for Super Frog's map is the road placement. And it's not like you just have this low ground road. The road actually leads to some of the highest points on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Super Frog also did a good job of trying to, like, of placing line of sight blockers um, throughout the middle of the map. It's kind of hard to describe without having to pull it up. So I don't know. I think, these narrower maps, they can work enough in some circumstances. Um, but even still, just, yeah, it's the tendency of a narrower map. It suffers. The gameplay suffers because there's less options. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just how fast Q9 went down.
Yeah, Flash
Just
wanted to talk about this
beautiful.
so that he could ignore the part where Q9 died to
Yeah,
just
that's
a few
really why I
attacks.
brought it up. And to
But
just give a shout out to Super Frog.
yeah, no, and I think that's a good point. It's not like there are maps that are smaller, there are maps that are narrower, and to kind of like just continue that thought. One part where this map struggles is that it doesn't have a lot of line of sight blockers. It doesn't have a lot of I guess a variation where Super Frog's map, it's got high ground on one side, which, like you said, is road. It's also got start zones that are in the middle of the map, and so you've already got a little bit of difference there, where you've got, like, do I start a couple figures? I don't remember how big the start zones are, but do I start with a couple few figures forward? Do I start more behind? You've got a bigger hill that's kind of closer to your start zone. You've got a lot of shadow in the middle. So there's a lot more variation and a lot more
Right.
option to make decisions. Also, the other thing I'll say is the length of that map is maybe this big, opposed to how wide this one is, and so you're not, again, like we were saying at the beginning, you're not spending the whole first half of the game just trying to cross the map. You're
Right.
already attacking, and you've got those options to start off with. And
Totally.
I mean, and that's one thing I'd say about this map. If this map was maybe a bit closer, then it's got a bit more potential. I'd still say it's probably too narrow, but maybe
Yeah.
if you like make the start zones a little bit closer, maybe the start zones are here, and then maybe the road instead kind of branches out this way, and so it's still a faster way, but to get to your opponent because it's road, but it's not just a straight shot. Or maybe it does just go straight through the middle and there's like high ground on both sides. Either way, you've got a smiley face, and so that's pretty cool. That's already a win.
That's a pretty creepy smiley face there, big.
Well, whatever. I was it wasn't an intentional smiley face, but
Yeah, I know. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. But no, maybe another thought. And this is something else interesting about maps is I don't know. Like sometimes you talk about one element of map design, and it's like you kind of harp on it, and so it's like narrow map, narrow map. It's bad. Don't do narrow maps. That's that's making it a little bit too simplistic. It's like it's the fact that it's narrow combined with, I mean, yeah, the narrowness doesn't help, but it's the narrowness combined with the length, combined with the placement of the road. It's all of these factors together that when they come together, they just make the map not work very well. So like coming back to Super Frogs, like yeah, it is narrow, and I don't know if it's quite as narrow as this one. It might have an extra hex or two of width, but it's like that one works better because it's shorter and because there are other things that Superfrog did in the map design to make it work better, right?
hmm
So I think that's important to recognize, with map design as well. Like, yeah, you can have, some of these features, might not be the most ideal, but it's like really when they come together and when you combine them that they become game breaking. Maybe one of them by themselves isn't going to be as game breaking. It might make the game, or it might make the map kind of boring to play on, but
but not
I don't know.
necessarily breaking it. Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Um, there is a lot that goes into this map. I think for me, it's usually when I see a narrow map, it's also got other issues going on, and so that's why, for me at least, I see a narrow map and I'm like, probably not going to work. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not a deal breaker in and of itself. Also, like the other trope that I see here is the low road and the high ground, and basically you've got like the quick route versus the high ground route, and
yeah,
um in this part, or in this style where it's like on one side rather than like through the middle or something like that. And I think that's also something that could work, but I think it's hurt by how long the map is, because road's fast, but it's not that fast. And it
you're
needs
right.
to be able to go somewhere. So like if you took some of this road and you were redoing this map, and maybe the road like comes into some of this high ground, or maybe it actually does go into the start zone or something like that. If it was used a bit differently, then maybe you get this map and it's got a lot more of that gameplay that you want it to have, instead of um trying for it but then just not quite having it because there's so much high ground up here, and the road is just so removed from the action that it's not worth taking.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense. Cool. Well, honestly, at this point, I feel like I've kind of anything more I say about this is just gonna bore people to tears.
Please,
Yeah,
never.
yeah, I think that kind of does it for like my thoughts on this map. Um,
All right, sweet. And as you said that, I can just hear people leaving the video as they know that Flesh doesn't have anything more to say. So
whatever.
But no, I mean, like honestly, that kind of gets it for me too. We talked a lot during the game about it, so I think that kind of sums it up, and we can call it good there. Um, but yeah, thank you so much, Flash, for joining me for this. I always love doing
Yeah,
map
you
talks with
bet.
you.
You bet. It is always fun, and I was really glad I was able to sneak this in
I'm glad
to
too.
get to cast with you.
Yeah,
I
it's
always enjoy it.
yeah, always fun talking with you. Need to do it more often.
It's true.
Oh, also, thank you so much to Sir Heroscape for allowing us to tear apart your map and flip the table and strew the pieces all over the place. And
We were not very merciful.
we
We were
weren't.
not very
Looking
kind.
back, we did get a little bit harsh with this one, and um, so and we usually try to be more amicable, but we were a little bit.
But and maybe this is the time for us to be kind. And honestly, this is not just like me being kind. This is how it is. I mean, Sir H is a great map maker.
Mhm.
He's got tons of great maps. So, well, and I mean everybody, and as you kind of acknowledged, and as he acknowledged, if I understood you correctly, this one was just kind of thrown together.
Mhm.
Uh, whereas his other submission kind of had more of the thought put into it. Um,
Yeah.
and So yeah, Sir H is a great map maker. I would definitely go check out his map thread on Heroscapers. Um, got some great ones on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that will be linked if you want to check those out. You can go straight to his thread and see what other maps he's played on, like or sorry that he's made, also played on. I'm sure he's played on them as well. But yeah, no, like we were very intentional about choosing this map because we knew well because we knew going in that we knew Sir Heroscape. We know he's a good map maker. We know this is not the only map he's ever made. And then also after talking to him, like you said, this is he acknowledges that this is not one of his polished maps, and so we just kind of took an opportunity and jumped on it because we did see things that we wanted to talk about, and so that's why we
Yeah.
made this choice. Um, but yeah, and you can definitely so like I said, you can check out his maps. Also, if you don't know, Sir Heroscape has this little YouTube channel that he puts videos on. You can also check that out. Link in the description below. You could give him some views. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. You could use a lot of help from that. but
Um,
but yeah. So that'll be us for now. Flash, do you have anything that you'd like to say before we sign off?
you know what? Just remember what a glorious world we live in. I
Hey.
stole your line. I stole
How
it.
dare you? All right, well, I guess with that,
Nothing else to
you
say.
have nothing else to say other than this will be 10 points under and out.